Okay, so our technology department here at Cleveland District High School is broken up into 3 subject areas: industrial design and technology, food technology, and business education. I'll be running through those subjects for you this afternoon. We've got 11 different subjects, so it's quite a wide range. So we'll just be giving some brief overviews of each of those. If you've got more detailed questions around that, again, you can email me. Or what's also really valuable is the student actually either talking to their current teacher, or if they're not currently doing one of those subjects in Year 9, popping down to a staff room and having a chat to one of the teachers in that area, and I'll have those details up for you as we progress. So we'll look at the industrial design and technology subjects first. And this just gives you a bit of a map of the subjects we offer through 9 through to Year 12. So at the moment you might have some students currently doing Year 9 subjects. If you're not currently in a Year 9 subject in this area and you'd like to go into it in the future, don't panic, that's completely okay. We're fully aware that not everybody gets their choices in Year 9, and so don't feel as though, well, I didn't get into my tech metal course in Year 9, so now I don't have a chance of doing engineering skills the rest of my time here at Cleveland. That's not the case. Doing it in Year 9 is preferable, but not by no means mandatory. Okay, it is nice, especially for design and for when we're talking about food and business, the general subjects. It's nice to have that flow through, but with a bit of hard work, it is fine. We have students that come into all of our subjects in Years 10 or 11 and do quite well because they work hard and they do a bit of catch-up work and do some extra homework to make up for the content they've missed in Year 9. Conversely, the sad fact is we have students in Year 12 every year that have been in the subject since Year 9 that don't do the work and don't pass. So really, if you're not in the subject in Year 9, it's not the end of the world if you're willing to put a bit of extra effort in as you come into the subjects in Year 10 or 11. The first one we'll look at is Furnishing Skills. It's an applied subject, so it's a pathway, vocational pathway, or a work readiness pathway, so it's not designed for university entrance. So there's no prerequisite to get into Furnishing Skills. Essentially, it's what we would have called woodwork in the past. So it's essentially a traditional woodwork class where students make a range of individual projects, looking at different types of joinery and cabinetry work. And then we do some written assignments on how and why we chose those techniques, do a bit of evaluation, that sort of thing. So yes, it is generally a practical-based subject, but there is definitely still a theory component to that. And with the new QCAA system around the Australian Tertiary Admissions rank, and there's a new QCE system, if people have gone through and done furnishings in the past, they're older brothers and sisters and the like, there's definitely a bit more theory component, and that goes not just for furnishings but for all of the applied subjects. There's definitely a little bit more rigour in the written side of things that go along with it. So the career paths there, a fair comment is often made that there's not much of a furniture making industry in Australia at the moment, and that is true. The beauty of the subject Furnishing Skills is that it does a really good job of preparing you across all trades, because it's all about marking out, measuring, working accurately using basic hand and power tools. So while the furniture making industry in Australia may not be booming at the moment, it is still a great subject for developing hand skills that is applicable across all trades. Next subject we'll look at is Building and Construction Skills, another applied subject, so same thing, no prerequisite, but also has that same element of theory component. We're using carpentry, landscaping, painting and plastering, and this one is more tailored towards going into the construction industry. So we look more at the carpentry side of things. We do a small amount of concreting and bricklaying in Years 11 and 12, but we don't really go into electrical and plumbing at all in any sort of detail, simply just with the facilities that we have here at school and accreditations required for that. So we stick to the carpentry side. I work on a range of small individual projects they can take home, and then also work on some larger group projects, some dog houses, We're lucky to have a nice construction courtyard with a grassed area, so we dig some holes, we use marking out, dumpy level mark out, sink some posts in, and then put some roof trusses off across that, and then disassemble at the end. We put up full-size, full-height walls with returns and plaster and paint those, and then also then damage the walls and then do fixing and repairing to those sorts of things. So building construction is a hands-on subject, but whereas furnishing is more finer, detailed, individual work, building construction skills is slightly larger projects that you often won't get to take home, and also working a fair bit in a team environment. Engineering skills is what we would call, I guess, in the past, metalworking. So again, it's another applied subject. There's no prerequisite. Again, it's that same mix of theory, but also mainly practical work. And this one focuses all about welding and fabrication, sheet metal working, and fitting and machining. It's a really fabulous subject and has lots of career opportunities coming out of it. By the end of the course, students will be able to use with a fair bit of skill a metal lathe and an overhead milling machine, and they'll also be able to MIG weld mild steel and TIG weld both mild steel and stainless steel, which is a great skill to have to walk away with and a very employable skill. And depending on the student, there's opportunities for some extension work there in silicon bronze welding and TIG welding of aluminium as well. So there's lots of really good employable skills that come out of engineering skills in that metalworking area. Industrial graphic skills is the last of the applied subjects that we have on offer in the industrial tech area. So same caveats apply around prerequisites. Industrial graphic skills is based around doing the drawings required to build things. Is a very simplistic way of looking at it. I guess in the past it'd be like training to be a drafter, but with the software we have available now, it's so much more than just knowing how to use the program to create the drawings. It's very much now focusing on understanding how the objects are being built that you're drawing. And so we spend a lot of time in computer-aided design, actually doing up 3D models and detailed, accurate industry standard drawings, technical drawings for objects being built. And we focus those around the building construction industry, furnishings and engineering skills to match the other subjects that we offer. So we use Autodesk products for that, Inventor, Revit and AutoCAD. And by the end of year 12, we end up doing some quite detailed, quite complicated technical drawings. Industrial graphic skills is a great match for any of the other applied subjects, because in the building construction, furnishings and engineering skills, you're working off plans the whole time. The key driver around those subjects is being able to build to specification. In industrial graphic skills, what you produce are those specifications, those technical drawings. So it's a fantastic match to be able to read and interpret plans by being able to draw them up with any of those other trade-based subjects. Final subject we have on offer in industrial technology is design. And this is a general subject, so it is designed for tertiary entrance, and it's for students that are looking to go into university and taking on a tertiary workload. So the workload for design is being a general subject is significantly higher than the applied subjects. We do ask students to have a C in English and or maths as they come into the subject in year 9, simply because there is a bit of work in this subject, and to achieve well, it's not just about sketching. Being able to analyse existing ideas and be able to communicate that is very important. So the English side of it is quite important. So design is really a problem-solving subject. We work around systems, environments, and products. So it's not just about architecture, it's not just about industrial design. We work across the full range of product, services, and environments. And while we do spend some time looking at design as such, like we do units on Art Deco, mid-century modern, that sort of thing, we really do focus more on the problem-solving process. So students coming into this subject need to be aware that not going to be designing things and then building it and taking it home with them. This is not a subject to make projects and take home. It's a subject to explore problems around those areas. And often they're linked to industrial design or architecture, but not always. So for example, we're doing a project with our 12s looking at the impact if we change the bottle recycling from 10 cents to $5, because it doesn't seem to be doing a whole heap of reducing the waste. It definitely doesn't deter people from actually purchasing those single-use plastics to start off with. So that whole thing, you know, when people come into design, like, oh, I thought I was be designing bespoke light fittings and that sort of stuff. Yes, we do that, but we also do spend some time looking at larger, bigger picture problems and applying a design process to how we might go about solving that. It is definitely set up to be entry into industrial design, architecture, engineering, etc. at the tertiary level, but realistically, anything that requires detailed problem solving, it is a great course for that. So lots of, if you're involved in the business community, a design thinking approach is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. It's fantastic for any subject that you're thinking about a tertiary entrance for. So I'll just have some time for questions around industrial tech if anyone wants to email through. And of course, students can come down and talk to any of the teachers in J Block staff room here at school to get a bit more information about those. So one question that's popped up is around what students need to wear and bring to those subjects in the workshop. So students should be supplying their own safety glasses and their own earmuffs. We do have some that the students can borrow, but of course our preference is that they have their own and wear their own. We also have aprons available for purchase at the start of the year, and we'd recommend students wearing those each lesson. So to answer that question, it would be best to set your student up with a pair of safety glasses, a pair of earmuffs, and an apron for those subjects in the workshop. Okay, our next subject area is food technology. And in Year 9, we've got hospitality, prac textiles and cookery, food nutrition. And again, the same thing applies, where if you're not in one of those subjects in Year 9, it's not the end of the world. You can definitely come into them in Year 10. We also have a subject that only starts in Year 10 in our food tech area, and that's called early childhood studies. So look at hospitality first. It is an applied subject, no prerequisite. Again, that combination of prac work and theory. And the theory component there is around safe practices in a kitchen and commercial techniques. We've got some individual work, so most of the time, you know, the weekly cooks are going to be students cooking for themselves to bring home for their families and to trial out things. But we also have lots of team situations. So the hospitality practices students in senior are the wonderful students that cater our welcome barbecue, our Anzac Day ceremony, our graduation ceremonies, presentation night. They do all the catering for that. So as part of doing hospitality practices, there'll be, in a normal year when we don't have pandemic restrictions, there'll be at least one event across the year where you'll need to be staying back at night and doing the catering for an event as part of a larger team and delivering a cook for that. There's also assessment pieces across the year where we do coffee ventures and also a sit-down restaurant lunch, 3-course lunch in Year 12, where students work in small teams to fully plan out the menu for that, organise it, do trial cooks, and then deliver the service on the day. And we find hospitality practices is a very popular subject, not just for students wanting to go into the hospitality industry, but also for students who are looking at our tertiary bounds and want to pick up some part-time work in the hospitality industry while they're at university. Because we do have a commercial grade coffee machine, so students will learn how to make a decent cup of coffee. They won't end up in Year 12 being a barista. That's a separate training package as it stands, but they will be able to go to a trial interview and make a decent cup of coffee and how to wait tables and set tables properly and do basic food preparation in line with industry safety practices around that. So that can be really helpful in getting students prepared for part-time work across university, even if they're not looking at being in the hospitality industry as a full-time occupation. So we find that can be a good mix for students who are looking to do a mainly general load of subjects with one applied. Hospitality is a very popular one for that. Early childhood is a subject that we start in Year 10. Again, that applied subject, so no prerequisites, and that same combination of practical and theory work. There is a bit more theory involved in this subject than the ones we have mentioned previously. And it's all about learning about children from birth through to age 5 and how they develop and how we can help as adults help them to develop. So it really is preparing students for being an early child educator. And so it's very much a work readiness pathway. And we look at mainly around play-based learning and some different theories of development. And so assessment pieces would be things like developing a play-based exercise that teaches a particular numeracy skill. There's also some ones around taking a book and a children's book and developing some activities that a childcare worker could use based around that book that tie in with the morals and the story of that book. One thing to note that in this subject, we have a good, strong connection with the St James down the road childcare facility, and so we actually in 11 and 12 we actually spend some lessons down there working with the young children in the early childhood centre, and part of those assessment pieces is planning and practicing those activities, and then we go down there and actually do that with the young children down there. It's a great highlight for students in the subject and also for the young kids down at the childcare centre. They love having the big kids come down and interact with them. So that's just something to be aware of. That is part of the course. If you're not keen about going down and actually working with young children, then it's definitely not the subject for you. So our last subject in the food technology area is food and nutrition, and this is our general subject, so our tertiary entrance subject. It is designed for students wanting to be going at a tertiary level. So you definitely need to have a C in English. There is a strong theory component in food and nutrition. Some people in the past, this of course is a new subject, first cohort's going through this year. It's nothing like the old home ec. So if you had older students that have come through, it's just a new version of home ec. No, it's not. It's a completely different subject. There's no textiles involved at all. It's purely about food nutrition with a strong element on the theory side of things and actually working out what's happening to the food. So it says there, it's a study of the whole food system, right from production through to waste management at the end there. So it's looking at things, like we do trial cooks on different types of meat using a grill, using oven, using boiling, and then having a look at the fat and how the fat's broken down and what the proteins are doing as part of that. So it's, in a way, quite technical. How does gluten play a role? There's whole units on carbohydrates and proteins and delving right into those at a relatively scientific level. It's a fantastic subject, very, very interesting, and prepares people really well going into a wide range of things, obviously dietitian, nutritionist, but the nursing sector, any of those entry-level sciences, it can be a really good match with biology as well as a subject. So you will do some cooking, but the cooking that we do is more of an experimental nature, and so it's not sort of like hospitality where you cook meals for somebody. As we're cooking in food nutrition, it'll be to test particular theories. So we'll do some tests and use a particular ingredient and then make changes to that recipe and cook it again and then analyse the differences. So what happened to the texture, what happened to the taste around those particular things. So if there's any questions around the food technology subjects, feel free to email through and we'll get them answered for you. So students can come across and talk to any of the teachers in G Block staff room. So that's the best place to find teachers that deliver the food technology subject. So if students want to have a chat to the teachers and they're not already doing a food tech subject at school, G-Block staff room is the place to go. We've had a question come through about the design subject, so I'll just quickly address that before we jump into our business subject. Design is very much a people person subject. It's not one for, so the question was regarding how much teamwork is involved in it. A lot. It's not the subject where you can hide behind your computer and just work individually. Design, you need to be really out there communicating with people and being willing to share your ideas as a group. So design is very much a team-based subject, to answer that question that's come through on the emails. All right, last subject we're going to look at, or subject area, is business education. And same deal, if you're not doing a business subject in Year 9, that's completely okay. You can still join across in Year 10. And just like food tech, we've got a subject called accounting, which starts up in Year 10 only. So we'll look at business studies to start off with. That's our applied subject. So same deal, no prerequisite, but of course there's still a strong, being about business, there is still a strong theoretical component to it. So students are writing every lesson. And it's prac-based in that it simulates business activities. It's more about the day-to-day operations and administration of a business. And business studies is where you pitch some ventures. So in Year 10, we'll actually run a venture and hold a stall here at school. But if you've seen the show Shark Tank, there's units in Year 11 and 12 where students are given a brief for a particular business idea, and they do all the planning for that and set up the operations for it, and then pitch the idea for potential investors. So business studies is our applied level subject, which is more around the day-to-day operations, administrations of businesses. The other subject that carries a business name is the subject business, and it's a general subject, so it's definitely aimed at an academic tertiary entrance, so it's for going into business or business management at university. It's a minimum of a C in English is required, absolutely, because there's lots of writing in the business subject. And this academic subject is more about how, more at the strategic management level on how businesses run and about their life cycle. So they look at startup businesses through the maturity stage businesses and strategic activities that can happen within those businesses to target certain things. So for example, expanding into new markets, how franchises work. So it's less of the day-to-day and more about the larger picture, more fine-grained strategic decisions about how businesses run. Spend a lot of time doing case studies of existing businesses and looking at the decisions that those particular businesses have made and why, and how that's impacted on their bottom line and their market dominance. Final subject I'd like to talk about this afternoon is accounting, another general subject, so high academic load, designed for tertiary entrance, minimum C in English and in maths. So of course, being accounting, the maths side of it is important. We can't stipulate, but we'd recommend that students doing accounting years 10, 11 and 12 should be doing general maths. The mathematics involved in terms of the formulas and ratios, especially when you're working backwards in accounting, can be a bit tricky. So if you're doing essential maths, you could get by, but we recommend that general maths would be a better fit if you're looking to choose accounting. Where business looks at the strategic operations of the whole business, HR, marketing, as well as operations, accounting is all about that financial language of that. So some example tasks that we might see happening in accounting would be if a business wants to obtain a new vehicle for delivery, say for example, you'd be doing analysis of whether purchasing or leasing is the best way forward, what the projections for that be when you expect to have that paid off. It could be similar things around working out the true cost of closing down a franchise site or changing venues, so factoring in redundancies, asset sales, exit from lease agreements, that sort of thing, and providing business reports about that particular accounting strategy. We also look at some case studies of particular examples of where a business might not be doing the best thing, and the students use their knowledge of the systems to provide recommendations of strategies that can help that business improve their accounting practices. So in Year 10, it's very procedural based, learning the procedures required for that. And then as we move into Year 11 and 12, it's more analytical and decision-based skills about choosing when to use which of those accounting practices and where. As part of doing that, they'll learn the MYOB accounting package in Year 10 and use that along with Excel as they move through. But again, in senior, there's definitely a strong element of analysis and decision making around which financial strategy would work best for that particular situation. All right, so that pretty much concludes our session at 4:30, so that was relatively good timing. If you've got any questions around business education, students can come and have a chat to staff in J Block, or of course you can shoot through an email as well. So that does conclude our presentation for this afternoon. I'll hang online for a few minutes afterwards just in case there's a few more questions via email that come through. But other than that, thanks for logging in. I'll be talking to all Year 9 students during Access on Friday, and they'll get information about their subjects very similar to the presentation you've seen today. And if any time before the subject selection due date you've got any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to shoot an email through or just ring the school and they can put you in contact with me around the subject that you're looking for. So thanks for tuning in and appreciate your time.